all of us are in the same situation. We have this thing that we experience that we call our mind. We have this vague understanding of, oh yes, I have a mind, my mind. But we've never really looked to see what that mind is or is not, to really understand the nature of that mind and to directly experience the nature of that mind that we're all so familiar with. As long as one doesn't have that kind of understanding, then one runs into all kinds of problems. This is where the trouble starts, that lack of direct experience. Even in the case of meditation practice, if one's practicing meditation without that basic understanding, then one's meditation is going to be very limited in its ability to benefit one. It's like someone who's sitting in a room that's very cold and they decide they want to warm things up, so they go outside and build a fire. Well, that's fine if you're outside, but it's not going to help inside the room. You're not looking in the right place. You're not doing the right thing in the situation. Someone who doesn't have that inner realization when they're working in meditation is busy looking somewhere else for what in fact is inherent in the nature of their minds. In this text which Gampopa wrote, which has been translated into English as the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, there are 6 major headings that divide the book in the table of contents. The first of these describes what is called TATHAGATAGARBHA, the Buddha nature, the nature of mind itself as the causal factor, the potential for enlightenment. In another place, in another sutra rather, the Buddha said at one point, this tathāgatagarbha, this Buddha nature, pervades each and every living thing. It is the fundamental nature of mind itself. And it is that with which one is working in meditation. It is that which is experiencing any of the states of experience that we go through. And an understanding of that tathāgatagarbha, that nature of mind itself, will be extremely helpful in any situation, whether it's formal meditation practice or any ordinary activity or experience. When we speak about mind, we're speaking about that which conceives of I when we say, I am happy, I am sad. We're speaking about that which experiences the happiness or the sadness, which experiences any thought or emotion or sensation that arises at all. We're not looking anywhere other than there for mind. But what exactly are we describing when we speak about mind itself rather than its contents, the particular thought or the particular emotion? What about the mind itself that is thinking that thought? Then we are talking about something that is essentially empty or intangible. It has no limiting characteristics at all that we can use to describe it. It has no form, it has no color, it has no shape or size or location at all. mind itself does not behave according to those properties. And to give this a name, we say that it is essentially empty. This is the particular terminology we use. But we can't stop there and simply say mind is empty like space, because there's obviously something more going on. Mind exhibits a kind of clarity or luminosity. Not the luminosity that we think of when we think of the sunlight or moonlight or the light from an electric bulb or from a candle. Not a visual sense of luminosity. Mind is luminous or clear in the sense that it has the potential to experience anything. The fact that any thought or emotion or experience could arise in the mind and can arise in the mind is its luminosity, its luminous nature. And that isn't enough yet. We haven't completely described the nature of mind as accurately as we are able to with the limitations of language. We need to also understand that mind not only can manifest, but does manifest. It actually does manifest as awareness. Call it cognition, call it intelligence, call it awareness. There is this unobstructed or dynamic quality of mind that is its manifestation. So, when we're discussing the nature of mind itself, we speak of its essential emptiness, of its luminous nature, and of its unimpeded dynamic manifestation as awareness. And then we put that all together and put the label mind on it as a convenient term. But that's the level of our experience that we're talking about when we say mind itself, or the nature of mind. This empty, luminous, dynamic nature of mind is something which is not subject to birth and death. On that level, we're not talking about something that came into being at one point and is going to die at some other point in the future. It always has been the case that there has been this nature of mind. It always will be the case that there will be this nature of mind. In that sense of the word, we can say that mind is eternal and not impermanent. It is permanent in the sense that it has nothing to do with birth and death or change. It just does not behave according to those properties. So, with that definition of the term eternal, we could say that there is something eternal, the nature of mind. The impermanence that we experience, birth and death and change, is a superficial layer of projected appearance in the mind itself. This is not the level of the nature of mind, but of the illusory appearances and projections that the mind experiences on a more superficial level. That is where the impermanence and instability takes place. This nature of mind, this empty, clear, and unimpeded state of awareness, is what is termed tathāgatagarbha, Buddha nature, the potential for enlightenment. It holds inherent within it all of the qualities of complete enlightenment. We often hear Buddhahood, complete enlightenment, described from the point of view of what are called the three kayas, or the three bodies, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. An absolute formless level of experience, a level of pure form, and a level of impermanent physical form, physical manifestation. The essential emptiness of mind, its intangibility, is the source for all of the incredible potential and inherent qualities of the Dharmakaya. The luminous nature of mind holds the key for all of the qualities of the Sambhogakaya. And the dynamic and unobstructed awareness, which is the manifestation of mind, holds all of the wealth of the Nirmanakaya level. So in the nature of mind itself, all of the qualities and aspects of total enlightenment are inherently present as part of the nature of mind. If we have this tathāgatagarbha, this Buddha nature, this empty, clear, and unimpeded nature of mind, like crystal clear water, pure water, or like the sun shining in the sky, how is it that we're not already enlightened? Why don't we know that? What are the levels of confusion that prevent us, that obscure that experience and prevent us from being enlightened? The first of these levels of confusion is one of fundamental ignorance. There simply is a lack of direct experience. The mind simply does not see itself, does not directly experience its own nature, for whatever reason. That lack of direct experience is ignorance, is unknowing. Given that that is the case, further distortions take place. Instead of there being the direct experience of the emptiness of mind, there is the distortion into something solid, a self or an ego, a subject. And because of the lack of direct experience of the luminous nature of mind, there is the projection of something other. And so the mind has this habitual tendency of experiencing self and other, subject and object, as two entirely separate and independent things, entities. This is something which has always been the case. The mind has always experienced things in this way, and still does. There is a fundamental habit, a reflex on the part of the mind to experience things in terms of self and other, as two separate things. This is another level of confusion known as dualistic clinging, known as habitual tendencies as well in the Buddhist teachings, because the mind has this habit, this habitual tendency to think in terms of I and other, self and other, subject and object. So this is the second level of confusion that we can distinguish beyond the fundamental ignorance. The further distortion into subject and object frame of reference, dualistic frame of reference. Once one already has this situation where the emptiness of mind is experienced instead as a self, as some solid subject, and the luminosity of mind is experienced as something other. Once one already has that dualistic framework, then the dynamic quality of mind, its unimpeded manifestation as awareness, expresses itself as emotional reactions on the part of the subject towards the object. This may be a pleasant experience of attraction or desire for something which is perceived as tempting or as attractive. It may be an experience of aversion or repulsion if something is seen as threatening or disgusting. And there is always a quality of stupidity or dullness as well, because the mind simply is not aware of what is really taking place. The mind is treating everything as though it actually were very real, subject, object, emotion, and failing to see that this is a fundamental distortion of what is really taking place. This empty, clear, and unimpeded nature of mind itself. So these are the primary emotions that we could distinguish: attraction, aversion, and stupidity. Now things don't remain that simple, of course, because from attraction or attachment arises greed or avarice, grasping. From aversion arises paranoia and jealousy. And from stupidity arises pride and arrogance. So where we have 3 primary emotions, immediately there can be 6 primary or radical emotions, which can develop into even more states of complexity. In fact, the texts speak of this